Welcome to First Baptist Church, Piney Grove. We are here with one of our jewels of our congregation and a sweet soul that I was able to meet and migrating to this wonderful area. And she was so kind enough to share some things with me I think will be beneficial as we celebrate Black History Month. And she gave us a perspective of living life in Fort Lauderdale. And we want to get into what it looks like for African Americans to go to school, to graduate, to come back home to a community, to be part of the church, what the church looked like at that time. She's been with us quite a while now. I know it's not right to ask a lady how old she is, but you mind sharing with the people at home how the Lord has kept you? How old are you, Sister Simmons?
93.
What you say? Tell me, I'm 93 and fine.
93 young.
93 young. Well, so we're going to start out. Sister Simmons, will you share who you are, how long you've been a member of this church, and then go into what did Fort Lauderdale look like when you was a little child?
Oh, boy.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I grew up here in Fort Lauderdale. I was born on 5th Avenue, and during that time, it was the most popular avenue. And my mother had a midwife. Her name was Sister Evans. And it was kind of hard growing up because we had so many things during that time that we couldn't do until we didn't really know sometimes what we could do. We could go to town and you could buy clothing, but you could not try them on there. They would let you know you can buy anything you want, but you cannot try them on in this store. They would not sell us food if we got hungry. There were 2 fountains in each 5 and 10. One said white and the other one said colored. And if we had to use the bathroom, we had to go to the Greyhound bus station. So growing up at Dillard, we graduated from Dillard High School, but it was not always named Dillard High School. It was named Colored School. And we had some people in the community who got behind that, and they were able to change the school to Dillard. And during that time, Dillard High School was the only high school in Broward County. We had classmates from Hallandale to Oakland Park. And during that time, we had, I forgot what the name of the person was then, but anyway, there was a lot of things that we could do, but we could not ride the bus, the city bus, and we could not go to places where the white people could go. But anyway, growing up wasn't too bad for us. And my class was the first class to graduate from Dillard High School with 72 students.
Are you serious?
And yes, and after that, the classes increased every year more and more.
You were the first class of Dillard High School.
With 72 students, that was the highest number of students to graduate during that time in 1949.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
And also, our class was the first class to organize the Honor Society. Yeah. We had a pretty smart little class, I think. And one of our classmates, Dorothy Orr, who some of us know, she named our class the Sophisticated Seniors.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Yes, ma'am. So you mentioned growing up in a town where you had to be cautious. You
Very
had to be
cautious.
aware of how you carried yourself. And you mentioned that you used to travel more than one.
Yes.
It was a rule, correct? Was that from home or was it just known among the community?
It was, no, that's what your parents required you to do, not to go to town alone.
So explain, how did Fort Lauderdale look when you said going to town? Where were you located at and what was considered town then?
Well, where we lived was on 2nd Street.
Okay.
And near the railroad track, the East Coast Railroad track. And we could just go there, but at night, no blacks would be coming from town. If they did, they would get in trouble. So we knew not to be across that railroad track after dark. Wow. That went for children, adults, and all.
What was the danger of that time of trouble? What does that mean for a generation who may not understand the climate at that time? What did that mean that What did trouble mean at that time period?
Sometimes they would get jailed, and a lot of times they would be hung. Over there where we have the Potter Clock now, across the street there, that's where they used to hang blacks. And sometimes we had a mortician here, his name was Dr. Benton. They would hang them, they said, the old people would tell us, and they would put them on the back of their truck and drag them to his funeral home and cut them loose. And he would come out and pick them up and bury them.
What years are you talking about when this
But
time
I was
going on?
small then, and I really don't know. I just hear the older people telling us about things.
Yes, ma'am.
And how we should do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
how
ma'am.
we should act.
Yeah, so you grow up in a climate of segregation, hatred.
Yes.
What did the community look like for you, where you lived at? What was prominent to you? What was the ambition of young blacks growing up in that environment?
Well, our parents, they didn't force us, but they wanted us to get an education. And at one time, they were closing our school. And some of the parents here were taking their children to New Jersey to pick beans or something up there they were doing. But we had a guy that his name was Clarence A. Baines, and he was from the island. And he and some more men got together, and they were instrumental in getting them not to close Dillard High School for the Maryland to go to New Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you graduate from high school, first class of Dillard High School.
No, it wasn't the first class.
You say you just sophisticated seniors, right?
The highest number of students to graduate.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
was
1949.
72. Yeah, it was 72.
Okay. So when you come out in 1949, what was the lens of African Americans going to college at that time? Because my understanding is that you went to HBCU.
A lot of them went before our time, but during the time we graduated in 49, they were building the present Dillard High School that they have now. Yeah, and the class behind me, they were able to graduate from the new Dillard that we have now.
So who encouraged you to go to college?
Well, I had a friend, and she was there, and she treated me like I was her little sister. And she told me all about it, and she helped me when I got there. She told me about the do's and the don'ts, and I wanted to go. But at first, I was the only one almost in my class who wanted to go to Cookman. They wanted to go to A&M because it was more exciting, they said. They said Cookman was dull. But when we got to the train station, I was surprised that 5 other of my classmates was going to Cookman.
Awesome.
To dull Cookman.
Awesome. So you go to Bethune-Cookman in 1949.
49.
You're a freshman. You come on campus. What was the climate? What was the culture of college in the late 40s, early 50s?
Well, to me, it was exciting, but we didn't have to, like the children today, they have to take the tests. We had to take the entrance test on campus. They had us all seated out in front of the buildings, and that's where we took our entrance exams. And I was able to pass and get in, of course. And then we were there about 2 months, and Mrs. Bethune decided to come to Daytona. So we had to wear navy blue suits. You had to buy 2 suits before you came, a white suit and a navy blue suit.
Okay.
We had to put on our white suit and our green beanies because they were all freshmen. They would put the green beanies on, and we went to meet her at the train station.
Tell me this, because someone watching may not know who you're talking about. We're talking about Miss Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yeah.
Tell the people who she was and what she meant and how big that was for her to come to that particular school that time named after her.
But she started Bethune-Cookman.
All right.
With 3 little girls.
Wow. That's right.
And she every Sunday we had what we call community meeting, and we had a lot of tourists there, and they would come because Bethune-Cookman's chorale was great, and they wanted to hear them sing.
Okay.
And Miss Bethune got up one Sunday, and she said to the people in the congregation, "You have the audacity to tell me where I can go and where I cannot go. She said, I have been where kings and queens, and you will never go. You see my walking cane right here? The Queen of England gave it to me.
Wow.
And it was diamonds.
Wow.
Yes. So she really told them off that Sunday. But it was nice school. It was religious school. Yeah, and we had to go to church every Sunday.
You was a college student and you had to go to church.
You had to go. You had to
Church
get
and
out
community,
those dorms.
it was no breaking between the two.
No, you got to get out those dorms because they searched them. If you didn't go. And on Wednesday night, we went to prayer meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
And they searched the rooms
To make sure you wasn't
to
in there.
make sure that you were there. And if you were caught not being there, then you were punished.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. So what did that moment mean when you met Miss Mary McLeod Bethune at the train station? What did that do to you? How did you see her at that time?
Oh, I was just elated because I didn't ever think that I would see a person like Miss Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yeah.
No way.
Wow.
But
What did that mean to black girls at that time as they made ambitions to move forward?
she would always talk about her little black girls and boys and how proud she was and what she wanted them to do. She was a very, very proud lady.
Awesome. So you graduate in 1953
Yes.
and you come back home.
Yes.
And have you been a member of Piney Grove prior to that, or you came home and then you?
Yes, I joined when I was in 6th grade.
Okay. So,
Yes.
so it's been your family church all your life.
Yes, I
Okay.
used to live 1 block from the church.
So tell us about Piney Grove.
We were on 2nd Street and 4th Avenue. And I joined under Mrs. Holly husband, Reverend Holly. And he used to be the president of Florida Memorial.
Wow.
And then he came to us, he and his wife, as our pastor.
Okay.
Yes.
How that community looked back then of who's
Well,
who
we
in
all
church?
just about knew everybody then. And you saw just about everybody every week.
Yes, ma'am.
But he stayed there for a while, and then he left. And then Mrs. Holly's niece, her husband, Reverend Toomer, he became our pastor
Okay.
for a while. Yeah.
So you're growing up in the 50s and you already been, exposed to community and church being together. You lived during the time of Jim Crow
Yeah.
and the Civil Rights Movement.
Yes.
So now at this time, you're a grown woman,
Yes.
all right? You're establishing yourself, your home. Were you part of the Civil Rights Movement?
No.
Were you connected to people who were part of the Civil Rights Movement?
No.
So in South Florida at that time, while the nation was seeing a movement of African Americans move forward like that, what was that messaging to those in South Florida who was watching around the world, marching and sit-ins and things of that nature? How that process in the mind of you at that time?
We had a lot of active people here in the community that was involved in it, but a lot of us weren't. We were just like in the background.
Was that still a mindset of being safe and being aware that possibly the environment still was
yes.
very...
Yes.
So at this time, you have children?
Yes, I have 3 children.
Okay, so what year did you have your first child?
Excuse me?
What year did you have your first child?
Wait a minute, 54, I think it was.
So now your child is a civil rights baby. They see, as they're 10, 11, 12 years old, they're seeing this as well, how the country is changing as well.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, because now, the babies they needed to march with, things like that. So as the world is changing, whatever, how did you teach your children about what it meant to be black? As you were taught about the awareness of racism and hatred in the world, how did you teach your children of how to move and to progress in life at that time?
I taught them that they were just as important as anybody else, and that I wanted them to get an education.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And my husband did the same. My husband was a graduate of Clark.
All right.
Yes. And he was an Omega.
And I heard that you was considering Divine Nine as well, right?
Excuse me?
I heard you was considering Divine Nine as well. Whatever you told me when you was at school, you was pursuing what organization?
Oh, Delta.
Delta. Okay.
Because that's what everybody was doing from Fort Lauderdale that went to Cookman. And they had two social organizations there. One was the Mummies and Zenas, and the other one was Cavaliers and Cavalettes. And everybody from here went Cavalier and Cavalette.
All right.
So I'm a Cavalette.
Thank you, Sister, for coming in today, Sister Simmons. I was really just blown back about you sharing about that moment that you had as a college student and that defining moment you had meeting an icon such as Mary McLeod Bethune. But we're at a point now where, as you stated, your upbringing and grooming was community, church, education, and moving forward. And we're at a point now where we're seeing our governor is attacking that culture, that same nucleus that has produced and gave meaning and purpose to who we are as a people in America and our contributions and how we should approach community. What would you say to a young person today of the value of community, of church, of what it means to be educated?
I would say don't let what the governor is doing now deter you to keep on your track, get your education, and get out and vote. Don't say, I'm not going to vote because they're going to do what they want to, and they will if you don't vote.
That's right.
And I'm asking young people now, please don't do that, especially 2024. To me, this is one of the most nervous areas that I've ever been in voting.
Wow.
I have been the clerk for the city and the county for years.
Really?
Yes. I'm not now. I mean, before I retired.
Yes, ma'am.
And the lady name was Easter Lily Gates. She was over the voters registration. And I was recommended to her by Reverend Mizell. He was the clerk then, and he gave her my name. And so I was for many years. And I know about running elections.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, I am a member of the COP, Community on Patrol. And also, I'm a member of CERT, that's with the fire department. I took 13 weeks of training with COP. I used to work the air, sea, and air show here. I would check out my car, and 3 of us would ride together. I was trained on the phone, and I was trained to gas up my car. And for some reason, I was the driver. I didn't ask for it. Everybody would get in the car and leave the driver's side to me. But I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
And I did it for a long time.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
You made a valid point. You said that if you don't vote, people do what they want to do. And if you don't, that's exactly what you leave them the possibility of doing. And we have been discouraged as Gen X millennials who witnessed that even here in Florida, election was taken with our vote.
Yeah.
And it turned a whole generation against voting.
Yeah.
And because we are on your shoulders of what you fought for and what you did to reserve the right for people to get to the poll to vote, it's different for us to argue in the barbershop and nail text about our opinion versus to talk to someone who walked in the trenches and made the way to encourage us not to give up your vote, not to give up your voice, and the change will come.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot in these 93 years, haven't you?
A lady named Edwina Monroe Cargill and we were the first blacks in Broward County to take census here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and we had to take a test for that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Back then, they made you take a test for just about everything. And we passed, so we were able to do it. My area was 9th Avenue, you know, up there where Mount Olive is.
Yes, ma'am.
Back to the railroad track, back to Broward Boulevard. And hers was on the opposite side.
Wow.
And that's what we did. And on Broward Boulevard was Marcella White's. And the lady said to me when I went there, I had on my ID, and she said, I told her who I was. You can't come in. I said, no, ma'am, I don't have to come in. I can ask you what I have to ask you on the outside. She said, okay. So I got on the next block, and it was funny. There was a guy, he was black, and he was in the house drinking. And I told him who I was. Come on in. I said, no, I don't have to come in. I can ask you outside also. So I made a little joke out. I said, one don't want me to come in, the other one want me to come in. But I enjoyed it.
I'm appreciative because it's one thing to talk, it's another to give your life to service and to make yourself a person who lives out your truth. You were born into community, you was born in the church, and to this day you are still working around the church.
Yes, I'm on the enhancement committee, floral and enhancement,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I've been the treasurer since 2019.
And y'all doing a great
Nobody
job.
else wanted it, it seems.
We still need people to serve, and you are 93 years old, still serving the Lord,
Yes.
and telling another
Every day
generation.
is my Thanksgiving day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I celebrate Thanksgiving in November, but every day that God allows me to get up and move around and take care of my personal needs, it's my Thanksgiving day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Tell the people your name. Tell them how long you've been here.
My name is Elouise Simmons, and I've been here all of my life, 93 years.
This is Black History at Piney Grove, and this is Mrs. Simmons, one of our darlings.